Alright, yo, what is going on, guys? It's Ant and welcome back to the channel. So basically this video has been very long overdue, but what you're seeing today, if you couldn't already tell from the title, is I'm going to see if I can beat Pokemon Unbound whilst playing only on insane difficulty, whilst also going into the game blind. Going into the game blind means that I've went into the game with no previous experience of what the game's like. I also did turn this into a series on my channel as well, and a playlist link will come to the top of the screen right around about now if you want to watch every episode or want to watch certain episodes or anything like that. And for those of you who have maybe already seen the whole series, this video is a summarization of the entire series all put into one short video. Or shorter. I would just like to also address that this isn't the current version that's downloadable. This is version 1.01, I believe. Whilst the current one that's now downloadable is version 1.03, I think. I'm not too sure. Anyways, I think that's everything I needed to address before getting into things, and now that's all done, let's get into it. So we get into things after picking out insane difficulty and find ourselves unconscious in the Shadows warehouse. Now what happened here was we finally get up, we find our rival, and I decided I was going to name him Mars. Now for some reason he sort of just looks like the red-haired guy from Team Galactic in Gen 4, so that's what I went with. I also went and picked Beldum as my starter because it's my favourite out of the three, and we went to beat up the Shadow Grunt, blocking the exit before making our escape and getting into the first rival fight of the whole series. And this fight, honestly, I don't feel like I was ever gonna win this. And honestly, to get the music you're hearing now in the background, I went and downloaded version 1.13 or 1.03, whichever one it was, and I put it on the casual difficulty so I could just try and get an audio, and I still lost. Fortunately though, despite losing that fight, we were still able to progress, chasing the shadows as they capture Articuno. We then get into our second rival fight, and this one was a bit more of a chance to win than the last one. We also have two new Pokemon with us as well, so they helped us out a lot, taking down the Swinub and most of the Gibble's HP before my Beldum can come in with 3 HP and clutch the rest of the fight. So next up was Dresco Town Gym, the first gym of the game where I could finally experience the real true difficulty of this game, and honestly this fight was so much harder than I ever expected it to be. They messed with the weather of the background, making it very misty, and it made a lot of my moves very inaccurate, and I sort of went in quite underleveled as well. This is before I realised that you should probably have a level cap on your Pokemon. So anyway, I went out and trained some more in, I think, Route 2, and we got our Beldum to evolve, which evolves him into a Metang and will help us a little more out in the gym. Maybe not so much because I still had to level up the rest of my team as well, but we finally did that, and we also caught a new member of our team as well as a Riolu, and we headed back in. And I also decided I'd change the layout of my team as well, starting Metagross up front so you can try and have that boost. And it still didn't go so greatly. I found a lot of our moves were always missing, but we tried to do what we could anyway. I gave the Chesto berries given by our rival to our Pokemon to wake us up, and I kept trying to go for steel type attacks on that Floette. It wasn't going too greatly, but we was finally making a lot more progress in this gym than we did on our first attempt. And then eventually we turned it into a 1 versus 1 fight, Gloom constantly going for Strength Sap and regaining its HP, while I kept trying to go for Confusion. It kept missing a bunch of times, and it also kept hitting a few times too. But they just kept restoring their HP using Strength Sap, which I don't even think should work because I've got a clear body ability. Finally though, they ran out of power points in Strength Sap, and we could clutch the rest of the battle because of this. This got us our first gym badge of the run, meaning we could now proceed onwards as we head to Cinder Volcano in pursuit of the shadows. They capture Moltres, and then we continue on all the way down to Crater Town to attempt the second gym. Now if I thought the first gym was hard, then I clearly had no clue what I was getting myself into with this run as I entered the second, because for me this was honestly one of the most hardest gyms of the entire run. I probably struggled with this gym for well over about 3 or 4 episodes, maybe 5 episodes. It took me a very long time to train up Pokemon, to attempt new strategies and finally overcome Vega. But eventually we finally did it after many attempts, which was nice, but it took us a very long time basically is what I'm trying to say. Also, having a little quick think about it, I just want to take back the fact that I said Vega was one of the hardest gym leaders in the game for me, because he was probably the most hardest, to be honest. When you compare all the other gym leaders and how quickly it took me to take them ones down in comparison to Vega, they all took me a long time. They were all hard, but Vega took the longest. I struggled against Vega the most, so I am going to have to place Vega as the #1 hardest gym leader for me in this run, and possibly in the entire game. Anyways, enough with Vega though, because now we're on our way to Blizzard City, and on our way there we take on our 3rd rival fight of the run, which we win. And also on our way to Blizzard City, Metang also evolved into Metagross, and then we headed into the Blizzard City gym when we finally arrived to take on Alice in attempt to win our 3rd gym badge. Something that was very nice for me about Alice's gym is that a lot of her Pokemon were very physical based. This meant Avalugg could come in and set up on him, and he almost caused a sweep as well, just being taken down by her last Pokemon, Staravia. But we still had another 5 Pokemon with us, and Metagross was able to come in and take down Staravia, earning us our 3rd gym badge very easily. Once we got our gym badge, we then headed off into Route 9, having to fight with the Shadows. After that we found Mel, we headed into the 4th gym, and this gym was really weird. It was an inverse battle, which meant every attack that is super effective was now not very effective, and every not very effective attack was super effective. It was very confusing, but we got used to it pretty quickly. I also found out that his gym was very physical based as well, which meant Avalugg could come in and set up again, using our tactic from the 3rd gym in this gym as well, which helped us get through it pretty easily. So next up was the Ptarmigan Mansion, where we went and battled Maxima, where she gave us the Mega Bracelet. We also got an Altaria Knight, so I went back to Route 2 and caught myself a Swablu, and I went and trained it up a bunch so we could have a Mega Evolution for this part up here. So right now they were capturing Zapdos, leading up to the first time in this run where a shadow fight was to not be underestimated. Marlon in this fight was to be taken seriously. I figured this out after my defeat in this fight, so I went back and went to train up a few of my underleveled Pokemon, getting them all to around about a perfect level, all similar to one another, before heading back up to the top of Mount Thundercap to rematch Marlon. In this fight we actually managed to overcome Marlon as well, which was nice, and that meant it was now time to head off into our 4th rival fight of the run against our rival Mars. In this fight we got through pretty easily, his team obviously being quite threatening, but our team in this fight was just better at this point in the game. This is good though, as it allowed us to continue on to Dahara City, meeting up with Jax and Luca before Hooper takes us to the Ruins of Void. After all that was done, it was now time for what I felt to be the hardest shadow fight of the entire run. If I was to try and place this in a scale of difficulty, I'd put it up there with Vega. I found this fight to be extremely hard, having to fight Zeph. I lost this fight many times, had to train up many times, many rematches, and we lost many times. It really might have taken me just as many episodes to train up and prepare for this fight as it did when trying to win our 2nd gym badge. So it's been a while since I was last editing this video. If I sound a little different, that is probably why. Anyways, to try and beat Zeph, we kept going to train up, and then we kept going back into our fight with him. And finally, for once, we was having a very good attempt. Metagross using Bullet Punch and taking down the Decidueye, whilst he was just left with a half HP Mightyena. Now Metagross here, I went for an Iron Head, and we managed to take down Zeph, finally beating him, which allowed us to go back to Dahara City and take on Galavan, the 5th gym leader of the run. We lost our first battle against Galavan, but I sort of knew what I was going to be up against after this, so I went back in there and tried to do what I could, and it was in this attempt that we did defeat Galavan. My superior versus Galavan's Togedemaru as I went for 2 leaf blades, took him down and won the gym. Defeating Galavan got us the Zap badge, so we then broke into the Light of Ruin warehouse and was getting to our first ever fight with Aklov, and Aklov's team was a lot stronger than I ever anticipated. His team consisted of 5 legends. So yeah, I was really unsure on how to take on this fight, but eventually after multiple tries, I started finding out little strategies that worked. So we kept getting really close every few times, we just kept falling a little bit short as well until I came up with a little strategy on how to take down his Pokemon. So I kept going for Spirit Break, and because of this, instead of trying to hit me, they kept trying to bulk up, which allowed me to chip away at their HP and eventually take them down, which won us the fight, and Aklov, after many attempts, was defeated. Hooper then sent me out to the Distortion World, and then after getting through this, we went to the Antitype City Gym where we had to do a series of ring fights to go against the leader. Now in these, you could only use 1 Pokemon and you had to beat 3 trainers with that 1 Pokemon. You did get healed between each fight, but it was still quite difficult to find 1 Pokemon that could get through it all. So we tried Avalugg to start with, he didn't win. Hariyama didn't do very well either. Now Superior managed to get us through the first one, and then against the second one as well, he was super effective, so we got through it and it looked like all was going well. But then we got against Embell, who we had no chance of defeating being a grass type, so it was time to try new things, and I went with my Greninja here, and Greninja was taken down by Sork, so I knew that none of the Pokemon I actually had were good enough. So it's time to start training some others, and I decided to train up a Ludicolo and a Gengar. Ludicolo fell short to the Sork, and then I tried out Gengar. So Gengar started off with a Shadow Ball. He got frozen in the first fight, so he was actually pretty unlucky, but it looked like he was able to take down Sork, so we went and tried again, and he defeated Sork. And then next was Poliwrath, which again he defeated. He went for a Shadow Ball, and then he went for another Shadow Ball. Luckily Poliwrath missed, and then the next Shadow Ball was able to take it down. And then we had Embell coming up, and Embell was the one I was quite worried about, so we went for Shadow Ball, and we actually was not strong enough here. So what I decided I was going to do was I was going to buy some calcium, I was going to buy some Carbos, and I was going to re-attempt. So Gengar now with his new EVs, we went back in, we took down Sork, and then next up was Poliwrath again, and we got pretty lucky again in this one because Hydro Pump decided to miss, so we was able to take down Poliwrath. And now next up was Embell, and this is the one I wanted to see. So we went against Embell, we used Shadow Ball, and it was clear at this point we was going to 2-shot it, so we took down Embell, and that was the ring fights defeated, so we could fight Big Mo. Big Mo defeated this in our first attempt, but now we knew who his lead was and all this different stuff, so we changed our team, went back in with a new strategy, and we took down the Conqueror pretty easily. And nextly he brought out his Medicham. Now I knew what Medicham was going to do here, so I switched to Gengar, and we managed to dodge a high jump kick. And then Perugly went down to an Ice Punch, so I went for that same strategy again. We went for Metagross, we switched to Gengar, and Medicham basically killed itself. And we managed to take out the rest of the gym after, getting us a new gym badge. So next up for us now was Tessie, a water type gym leader where in a gym, all the Pokemon's type would change according to their first 2 moves. We lost our first attempt, and we actually lost quite a few more attempts after this as well. It was quite a struggle to try and get through our gym. After a couple losses, I started to get some different strategies. I took Gardevoir Toxic and also gave it the Psychic Gem as well, so we could take down the Toxapex. Again, no, we fell short. Gyarados taking down my Gardevoir, and also taking down my Hariyama straight after. That wasn't going to stop us though, we was going to keep attempting. We found out a way to take down Toxapex, so we took it down again through the use of a Psychic Gem. We took down the Gyarados. We beat a few more Pokemon, and then we managed to beat the Kingdra as well, which won us our 7th gym badge. After the gym, we went into Crystal Peak. Me and Mars running into Aklov's trap, having to fight against Reshiram and Zekrom. Now in this fight, it was actually pretty difficult. Mama Swine helping us out a lot, as Vaporeon from Mars comes in and manages to win us that fight. After this, we make it to the top, and we have to fight against Rayquaza and Hooper. So we take down the Rayquaza pretty easily, and then Hooper was just last to take down. It was a pretty difficult Pokemon to take down, but we managed to do it in the end. Gardevoir's Spirit Break being what takes down the Hooper, as we take Hooper then into our team, and have to fight against Mars for what is probably the hardest rival battle I've ever had to play in any Pokemon game ever. This fight is up there with Vega, and is also up there with Zeph. Definitely one of the most hardest fights in the game. We continue to keep trying what we can, but we lose, and then we keep losing. We continue to keep trying what we can, but we keep losing, keep falling short to his Pokemon. But eventually, after a lot of training, a lot of practice, and a lot of knowing which Pokemon to use, we did manage to overcome him. Avalugg taking down the Toucannon, as we then take down the Aggron. Greninja takes down the Garchomp, and then manages to take down the Vaporeon as well. And lastly, his Pokemon was Mamoswine, which Gardevoir managed to finish off and beat the rival fight. So next up for us now was the 8th gym leader, Benjamin, who's got a very awkward gym. Every time a Pokemon faints, it will de-evolve into its previous evolution. We lost our first attempt, and we went straight back in, trying a new strategy through the use of changing our party order. This attempt was also unsuccessful, so I decided I was going to go train up my Pokemon a little more. After a bit more training of getting my Pokemon all to around the same level, I went back into the gym, and this attempt was also unsuccessful. And then after a few more losses, I decided that I needed to change my strategy. So what I needed from here was I needed a new Pokemon, and I went and caught myself a Houndour. And after catching the Houndour, it was time for training again. I also wanted Gengar for this gym too, so I started training him up. And eventually everyone was trained to around about level 88. And this time was going a lot better too. Greninja managing to take down the Scizor, his last Pokemon being the Venipede he switched out earlier. I started chipping down its life with Aerial Ace, getting into pretty low HP before he takes down both Snivy and my Beldum. Now last left for me was my Gengar. We managed to survive the stone damage, go for a Sucker Punch, it survived, and one more Sucker Punch was all that was needed to take down Benjamin and win the 8th gym. So this let us proceed on to the Elite Four. We went inside, we stocked up on all the items we was going to need for the challenge, and then we headed inside. So we first off went and challenged Penny, and this is how all the fights went for me pretty much in the Elite Four. We was doing good, but in the end we lost. So next up I went and tried Annabelle, and actually for the first time in this whole Elite Four, I beat this trainer first time. But that was Annabelle taken down, and next up was Elias. Elias, I decided I was going to start with Metagross against him because Metagross was doing best damage. So Metagross took him down, then I'd switch to Greninja, take down the Blacephalon. And then I take down the Chandelure. And then I take down the Aegislash with 2 Dark Pulses. And then after that, Houndoom was able to take down Gengar. And lastly, there was a low HP Giratina left, which Houndoom also took down. And that is how we beat Elias. After this was fighting Moleman, I started off with Serperior and Steelix. I went for Hammer Arm and Excadrill, and I went for Gyro Ball and Aerodactyl. Bullet Punch on the Excadrill, then another Gyro Ball on the Aerodactyl to take them both down. So after this I took out my Greninja, and we took down the Quagsire. I brought Greninja back in, tried to take down the Gliscor, and Gliscor ended up taking down Groudon for us. After this he was left with just Landorus and Gliscor. So I tried to take them both down, it didn't work out as great as I wanted. Greninja went down due to the Sandstorm, but then Metagross was able to come in, Bullet Punch down the Landorus and take him down. Now all that was left was just Gliscor. Now I thought Gliscor was going to do this. If he continued to roost spam me until Sandstorm took down Gengar, I might have been screwed. But thankfully when he was on low HP, he decided he was going to take down Gengar, which left him in low HP, and then Metagross was able to come along and finish him off. Next up was Penny, and I really must have had the RNG gods on my side for this fight because it really went well. And to be honest, at first it didn't even look like it was going to go well. See, they went for a Rock Slide and it made me flinch. But then after this, I went for an Ice Beam on Goodra. I got a critical hit on Tyrantrum with Bullet Punch, and this Ice Beam managed to make Goodra freeze. Next out came Penny's Kyurem. And what I was able to do here was I was able to double up the attacks on the one Pokemon whilst Goodra was temporarily out of the fight. So I went for a Dark Pulse here and a Bullet Punch on Kyurem. I was trying to make it flinch, and luckily it did make it flinch. Next out came Dragonite, and I knew this thing was going to have multi-scale, so I went for a Bullet Punch Ice Beam to take it down. And then after this came out Kommo-o. So again, I went for a double up attack on it, but fortunately it was just taken down due to Zen Headbutt. And then Altaria came along, and I went for a double up again. I knew it was going to Mega Evolve, so I went for a Bullet Punch. And this combination of Bullet Punch and Ice Beam took down Altaria. Now all that was left was Gudra, so again I went for an Ice Beam and a Bullet Punch just to double up on it. We took it down and Penny was finished. So now all that was left for us after beating Penny was our last fight, Jax. Yeah, Jax is a tough trainer, but I had no problem against him here, as I decided I was going to double up on the Salamence and take him down. And then next out came Naganadel. So I went for a double up on Golurk this time, and for some reason they switched out to Gastrodon, which probably helped us out a lot more than we think, because now Naganadel came out and I decided I was going to double up on that this time. I went for the Bullet Punch Ice Beam combo on it, took it down, while Gastrodon stayed in. He took down my Greninja, but then I decided I was going to go in with Gengar as he brought out Zapdos. Now Gastrodon to me is probably the worst of Jax's Pokemon, so I decided I was going to leave it for now. But then when he took down my Metagross, it was time to finally take down Gastrodon, so I went for a Leaf Blade on it, and it was one shot. Gengar also took down Zapdos, and now last left was Rayquaza. And now luckily for me, Rayquaza didn't know any moves that hit both my Pokemon, so because I had 3 or 4 Pokemon left at this point, he kept just hitting one at a time instead of both. If he could hit both, I would have lost, but because he could only hit one, I was able to hit him back every turn. And because of this, we beaten Jax and we beaten the challenge. This is honestly one of my most favourite games I've played in a very long time. Definitely the best ROM hack I've played in a very long time. I enjoyed it thoroughly and I would recommend it to anybody, so if anybody's looking to play this game, links can be found down in the description. I also get comments on my series quite a bit about people wanting me to record an updated version of a Pokemon Unbound walkthrough now that new version updates have made certain parts of the game very different on insane difficulty, so yeah, let me know if that's something you'd like to see. Also, massive thanks for all the support on the last video, and I apologise that this video has also taken so long, as this was the original intention with my walkthrough. I wanted to make this type of video from it. But anyway, if you've enjoyed, make sure you smack a like on the video. Also, leave a comment whether you'd actually like to see an updated version of the walkthrough or not. And also, subscribe if you're new and would like to see more, and I will see you all again very soon. Peace out.